Morning, everyone. I'd like to extend my warm welcome to all our participants, professors, and especially to our campus administrator, Professor Zeus M. Lucetano, Alumni Coordinator, Mrs. Julie B. Llagas, COE Extension Service Unit Coordinator, Sir Neil John Servidad, and to our resource speaker for today, Ms. Aileen Nidea. Good morning, everyone. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the fourth plenary session of our webinar series. This is Pagsalingoy, Revisiting Alumni Writers' Roles as Campus Journalists Amid Pandemic, with today's theme, Techniques and Strategies in Teaching Literary and Creative Writing. I think we are all geared for today's webinar, and our participants are all eager to meet our resource speaker. So, may I call in Archie A. Perpetua, the editor-in-chief of the College Artisans Bulletin, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you so much, Franz. Our speaker for today is a cultural worker that helps in promoting Bicol language, arts, literature, and culture. She writes poetry, creative nonfiction, plays, and fiction. She also does literary adaptations and translation. Her works were published in a number of literary folios, anthologies, and journal, both in print and virtual. Pangatorogan, her first poetry chapbook, is part of the Parasurat Bicolnon Writer Series released in October 2020. She is also a collaborator, editor for Bicol Stories for Let's Read Asia website. She won in the essay category of 2009 Premio Tomas Arejola para sa Literaturang Bicolnon with her entry Buhay Sariles, A Glimpse of the Skates Industry in the Railroad of Ragay. On December 2015, she co-founded Teatro Ragayano, a semi-professional community theater based in Ragay, and staged Gamgam, her adaptation of Carlos A. Arejola's experimental play, Mga Ibong Hapo sa Mainit na Alas 7. She also played the lead role of Sepa in Quintas. For the third season, Teatro Ragayano staged her back-to-back echo musicals, Sulog nin Pagkamuot, which she read at the Women Playwrights International Philippines, readathon at the Cultural Center of the Philippines on March 2017. She acted in the Bicol independent films Angustia, Kinulid, Sayaw sa Butal, and Mga Kauntukan. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome a member of Parasurat Bicolnon and a teacher for English and Literature in Ragay Help me welcome Ma'am Aileen Lamadrid Nidia, our speaker for the fourth plenary session of Pagsalingoy. A virtual applause, please.
Thank you very much, Archie. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
First off, thank you very much, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, Sipocot Campus, faculty and staff and administration, and the College Artisans Bulletin for having me today. The title of my talk is Salingoy, Susog, and Salinsi. They are Bicol words, meaning looking back, following up, and then collaborating or sprouting, strategies and techniques, and teaching literary writing. Thank you very much to all the participants who are taking time in joining us in teaching and learning today, especially the one from Indonesia. Please extend my regards. I have an Indonesian friend, Miss Desri Sumbayak. Okay, let's start. Next slide, please. I am going to start with this saying or quote, literature makes us more humane. Nagiging buo ang ating pagkatao dahil tayo ay nagbabasa. Then, may I invite you all to use the link after this talk or during your free time to visit the Philippine literary traditions as part of looking back. We have the native, the Islamic, the Spanish, the American, and the nationalists. Thank you. Next, we have the definition of literary traditions in this slide. Please go to the link, the reference link, to be able to get a thorough read of your definition of literary traditions. Passing down of stories which give meaning to human experiences. Next, please. Let me start with the masks in teaching literary writing and also with a disclaimer. I am going to go through this talk using contextualization, localization, and indigenization because I believe that we start from where we are. We are going to be sharing from what we have. So may I invite the co-participants and the other audience later to be reading, writing, because steps 1 and 2 are a must. You cannot give what you don't have. And because the teacher is the best visually. And we teach by modeling or by example. So in my talk today, I will invite you to walk through my favorite teaching and learning strategies, which are contextualization, localization, indigenization, and the rest. You will know later. For number 3, please study and learn continuously and consistently. Your competition is with yourself. Please let us all strive to be the best versions of ourselves every day. How are you going to do that? May I suggest 5 steps? Attend webinars, seminars, and trainings like we are doing today. When there are opportunities, please take time. Then join creative writing workshops. I will be sharing with you some experiences and links. There are Bicol creative writing workshops, there are Filipino creative writing workshops, and there are international creative writing workshops. If you have the opportunity to be able to join them, please grab them. Then request for mentorship of practitioners of the craft. Those among you who listened to Sir Nino Manal last Friday, and those who were inspired enough to continue writing, you may request him to be your mentor so that you will be able to grow more as a poet or as a literary writer. Then join literary writing competitions. We have them in Bicol, we have them in the Philippines, we have them abroad. You can see links in the internet and the social media. Okay, and then let's have, this is one of my jokes, but there is some truth in it. Try and try until you die. Okay. If you have questions or reactions, I may see some of them if you post them on the chat box, but I will be answering concerns and inquiries right after the talk. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, let's have the outline of the sharing. Let's start with the strategies, contextualization, localization, and indigenization. So you can see the definition, and I will be discussing this as I go along with the talk. Use of authentic materials to make learning more relevant, placing a concept in a context. What is our context? Your context is the CBSUA-Sipocot campus. Other participants' contexts are the Philippines, the Bicol region, Camarines Sur, and Indonesia. My context is here in Ragay. So if you are going to teach a particular concept, you may use it in your context. For example, I have written and I am writing about Ragay because this is my context. This is my reality. Localization is the use of readily available materials, activities, events, and teachers from learners' communities. You have extension services. you are talking with parents, with farmers, with other members of the community. So you have a lot of material to get. As writers, you may use them. As teachers, you may use them. And as students or learners, you may use them in your activities. Then, indigenization is also part of contextualization. You are going to go back, like pagsalingoy, to your oral traditions. Do you have stories handed down from generation to generation in the CBSUA area? In Ragay, we have this San Telmo, or the version of Saint Elmo's fire. It is like a ball of fire being seen atop the river, and then from the riverbank during stormy and cloudy nights. How about you? So that's one example of indigenizing an activity or or a story. Then we have the Leia. I have been using this in my teaching, language and experiential approach. Because you get to activate the schema. Schema is the background knowledge of the learners and your audience. So you can English and you are teaching the benefits of reading. You can bring your learners and then your books or reading materials outside. You may sit on benches, you may stand on the ground, and that let your learners experience the to let your learners group together or put them into small groups. You may give something to group one, another thing to group two, another thing to group three. Like for example, after reading Daragang Magayon by Merlin Tacubes, which is the start of the feminism, equal feminism. After reading Daragang Magayon, group one will be writing another ending. Group two will be staging a role play of chosen scenes. And group three will be composing a tigsik or a tanaga or a poem based on what they have read. Those are examples of differentiated instructions. Let's proceed, please. Hello. Next slide, please. We are still on the sharing of strategies. If you have concerns so far, you may write them on the chat box. I will be able to see while waiting for the next slide. Any concern? Okay, we are now, yes, next to that slide, please. The next slide is it's not moving. Next, please. Hello, are you there?
Hello,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. Language and literature interface. Okay, it has been common during the previous years before the K to 12 basic education program, teaching the meaning, next please, language and literature interface, teaching the meaning of a word using context clues or teaching grammar using a literary piece. Archie, please, the next. Okay, so for example, we are reading Andrea. Oh, we are reading Aurea, a short story by Marisa Redburn. And then there is a word there which is not familiar to the readers or the learners. So we are using the short story to teach grammar and to teach definitions of the word. It's not moving yet. Next. Okay. Before that, please, because this picture is the last technique I have shared. This is Philippine Wikipedia editing and contribution. I have gone throughout the first step of the training, yes. Philippine Wikipedia immersion and contribution. So I am going to be able to share with you, even young people, young professionals like you can go to the Philippine Wikipedia page and then contribute an article, edit articles, and then it can be used as a branch of or enrichment activity from the classroom teaching. So community and cultural immersions like gallery walks, you really go out pre-pandemic. Now we are going to wait for the post-pandemic world, creative writing workshops, and others. Then the performance-based tests and assessments like theater in classrooms. We will be sharing you some of the slides. I have 15 slides and theater in classrooms if we still have time later, just to be able to show you that it is doable. We can do theater in classrooms as one of the strategies in teaching creative and literary writing. Any questions so far? May I see reactions on the chat box? Thank you po. Okay, let's proceed. So next slide is, I guess, the picture of my team and Parasurat Bicolnon, who are also, whose members are also being trained as Philippine Wikipedia editors and contributors. The president, the one seated on the sofa with me is Bernardo Buboy Agway Jr., the Parasurat Bicolnon president. Thank you very much. Next, please. In these slides, you will be seeing some samples of the strategies which I mentioned. Let's proceed, please. Okay, we are having technical problems in the slides. Okay, so let's continue. This is from mindchamps.org. You may go there after this to read more. So one is use writing prompts to jumpstart creativity. Let's go back, please, because it's important. For example, this is my favorite writing activity is I tell my learners to write a 100-word essay about nothing. So the word prompt is nothing, and they are able to write. So how about if I ask you, participants, to send to me via messenger your 100-word personal essay about nothing? Okay, so I wish we can go back to the previous slide before I proceed here, or you can just go to mindchamps.org to be able to get the strategies. One example there I have been using through these years is journaling or using a diary, writing on your writing on your journal, if possible daily. I have made a commitment since 2008 to write at least 20 sentences or 20 lines daily, no matter how tired I am. And I believe that it helps me as a writer because you can only write, you can only learn writing by writing, and you can only be a better writer when you continuously write. So, and then emphasize character development before writing the story. Sir Nino also gave you strategies and techniques in writing fiction. So emphasize character development. Along the way, I will be sharing with you how to develop characters. And then build effective description. How do you describe creatively? There is only one mantra, one tenet. Show, don't tell. You will be able to learn later. It is connected with use feeling words. When you write something creatively and literarily, you are challenged or you are encouraged to write words, phrases, and sentences and paragraphs which appeal to our five senses. So sensual. Next, let's proceed. Let's continue the discussion. So while waiting for the slide, may I encourage some comments from the participants? I will be able to read them if you put them on the chat box. Okay, the next slide, I guess, outline of my talk, which is going to be tied up to the strategies which I have shared. So poetry, and then there is creative nonfiction or personal essays, then drama. I have I have focused on this poetry, fiction, or usipon in Bicol. Okay, poetry is rawit dawit in Bicol, but I will be focusing on metaphor, tanaga, and fibers. I will be giving examples, and I will be encouraging you to write them. Then fiction or usipon focus on Bicol concepts of orag, sagkod, gayon, tindog, tagubhang, and danas. Orag, sagkod, gayon, tindog, tagubhang, and danas are the so-called Bicol aesthetics. Then the creative nonfiction or the saysay focus on personal narrative and evocative details. And then the drama and pasale focus on characterization and crafting monologues and dialogues. Thank you very much. Let's proceed. The next slide will be on metaphor, tanaga, and reverse. I hope that you will be able to present all the slides because I have pictures that can better show what I have been sharing with you so far. Some of these, or maybe most of these are available on the internet. But because I am focusing on contextualization, I would like to share using examples based on my experiences and my contexts. So there are types of metaphors. Standard type is A is B. We are leaves on lights 3. So we are comparing through two unlike things. We or human beings are compared to leaves. This is the first line of a poem by Herminio Beltran, which was also mentioned by Sir Nino Manao. So A is B. For example, we are ships. We are ships that pass in the night. One line in a song by Barry Manilow. We are also compared to ships. Let's go to the implied metaphor. Example, COVID-19 blows off numerous leaves on life's tree. So we are going to have this extended metaphor. We are leaves on life's tree. So COVID-19 is the metaphor for the wind that blows off people. Then the visual is some leaves cling to life's tree, others fall to the ground, and one after the other. I hope you can imagine. We have a tree, and then some leaves are clinging to the branches, others are falling to the ground one by one. Are you imagining? So that's visual metaphor. Then we have the extended metaphor. We combine all of this. If you are able to do that, you are really very focused and keen in writing poetry. So how are you going to write metaphor? Because in starting to write poetry, you are going to know how to write or use metaphors. Why is it important for you how to know how to write? Because you are going to be teaching, and we have established that we are not going to be able what we don't have. So we always encourage literature teachers to be also writers. And if you can do it, published authors also. So how are you going to write metaphors? Metaphors should be image driven to create an image, but it should not be overly complex. If it's simple and you are going to be understood, the better. And it should be original and it should be relatable. Relatable in the sense that the readers and the learners will be able to really find themselves or their existence or experiences along the context of your chosen and written metaphors. Let's proceed, please. Next slides will be showing some pictures. Hello. My participants are seemingly very quiet. I hope you're still there and still with me. So let's proceed to the the next slide. Okay, so let's go to Tanaga. I have chosen Tanaga because it is one of the traditional forms of poetry in the Philippines. This is Filipino. And then it is buwan ng wika. And it's very important to keep in mind that we have to really embrace our identity as a country, as a people, as as individuals. Hi Divine, you are raising your hand. May I get back to you later? If you have some thoughts, you may just write them on the chat box and I will get back to you later. Thanks for being here. Then Tanaga, this is the format. We have 4 lines, 7 syllables per line, and with end rhymes, and on any chosen subject with title which may or may not be metaphorical. Yes, may I also recognize participants from Arnab's project Contextualized Passages for Reading for Brigada Basa, the volunteer tutors. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, so the next slide will show you a sample of Tanaga. May I share this with you? It is my Tanaga, which one of the winning Tanagas in the previously conducted national contests. It is also printed. This one, okay, the Tanaga Biyahe. It is also printed in one of the books available in Savage Mind. Next, please. Continue. Continue scrolling down to be able to, yes, that one. So if you will notice, it has a title, it is 4 lines, it has 7 syllables per line, and it has end rhymes. So that Tanaga is available in the book, Pitong Pantig, Pintig at Pagitan. The next slide will be shown using the book. May I request anybody to read the Tanaga, starting from the title? Anybody, please? Please turn on your microphone and read. We will just be able to listen to the rhymes. Any volunteer? Ma'am Franz, may I volunteer? Okay, there are 2 volunteers. Okay, who would like to go first? Can you have a duet? There are 3 people raising their hands. Okay, please go.
Where's the others?
You can have a trio. Okay. It is in Filipino. I will be translating later for the sake of our Indonesian friend. Okay?
I think we can start pa, ma'am.
Okay.
Start
Please
reading pa.
start. Go.
Okay pa. Biyahe by Aileen L. Nedea. Pag-uwi dinapayak, patong-patong ang gayak, jacket, face shield at face mask, lungkot, pagod at sindak.
Thank you. So, it is saying that going home is not easy anymore because you have a lot of baggage. And when you say you have a lot of baggage, it is not only literal, it is also metaphorical. So, but the thing listed here, jacket, face shield, and face mask, is shouting off about the pandemic. And then we are also carrying, when we travel, sadness, tiredness, and fear or worry. So that is one of Tanaga sa Pandemya. So it is available in a book. It is printed already. Next slide will show the book. It is 120 pesos in Savage Mind bookstore in Naga City. You may want to buy and check it out. If it is a physical or face-to-face webinar or seminar, I will be able to bring copies. But since I'm here and you're there, you may just go to the Savage Mind Arts, Books and Cinema. You have the address there. It is at the corner of Naga City Montessori in Naga City. It's very good. You have 50 Tanagas there, 25 in Bicol and 25 in Filipino, all winners of the contest. Let's proceed, please. So the next slide will be showing you strategies or how to write free verse and the definition of free verse. May I ask who among you are writing poetry already or has written poetry? I have chosen free verse because it is more free to write. But there are also some considerations. You can see that it is from verse libre, French. But you have to combine or intertwine content or message in the image. Of course, it should be with organic unity. For example, if your metaphor are leaves, you have the tree, you have the ground. It should be, you have the sky. You can also add water. You can also add branch because it has to have organic unity. Then line cuts in poetry are very important. So, but free verse are mostly narrative and lyrical. For more information and more reading, you can just research types of poetry. Okay, next please. We will be having some samples. How are you going to teach poetry using the strategies which I have shared earlier? Next please. Okay, may I just share with you? I have three poems, free verse, printed by the Cultural Center of the Philippines Literary Journal, ANI 41. And the next slide will be showing you the link. There are hundreds of poetry, fiction, and essays printed online in ANI 41. Just go to the link and you will be able to download. This is just saying that I am living what I am preaching. I am encouraging teachers and young professionals to read, to write, and to publish. I am just giving you samples of my published works. Maybe you will be inspired. These are doable. So may I invite you? You will be really enriched when you read publications in the ANI 41. Thank you very much. Next. By the way, this presentation is given to artisans, so you can just share this and just acknowledge me. It's okay to share. Thank you very much. Next, please. Okay, Pangaturugan, this is my poetry book available also in Savage Mind. And if you would like to order, we are 6 poetry books in the Parasurat Bicolnon Writers Series 2020. These are available with our editor and with our managing editors. Just PM Archie and Archie will inform me if you would like to order 100 pesos each. There are 6 in the series. Next slide will show you the 6 books in the series. If you get the package or six books in one, you will be having a discount of 100 pesos. So you will get 6 for only 500. The proceeds will be going to the publication of the series 2. We are now inviting authors to be included in the Parasurat Bicolano series. Okay, next please. Okay, my co-authors are Bicolano writers. Let's be aware that there are writers, there are authors who are young, there are authors who are alive, and they are authors who are with you here in Camarines Sur and here in the Bicol region. Next, please. Let's proceed. Any questions so far? Please write, and we will tackle that later. If you would like to be published, I can help you get published. How? Sabi nga ni Kuya Boy Abonda, usap tayo. Next. So, okay, let's proceed to the Bicol aesthetics. Let me share this with you because if you are going to be serious in writing and you are going to be serious in publishing, then a Bicolano is courageous and brave in facing challenges and trials. Second, a Bicolano is proud of his heritage. So Oragon, proud. Hindi naman mayabang, pero yung may angas, there is angas or there is pride in being a Bicolano. And there's also a third shade of meaning, but maybe it shows also in some writings. I can illustrate the third shade of meaning of Orag in a story. When I was in Nueva Ecija during a literary tour in 2012, I came across a driver and he said to me that, "Ma'am, are you Bicolana?" Yes, I said. "Ma'am, is it true that during storms, the Bicolanos take care first of the sili or hot pepper trees before their houses? They secure first the sili trees because they like hot pepper or siling labuyo too much." So I was asked that. And I said that, yes, some, but not all. But let's admit it. Sili or being hot is also like associated with Orag. Basta Bicolano, Oragon. Next, number 2 is Sagpod or Kasagkuran by H. Francisco P. Piñones Jr. By the way, all the writers that you see here available on Bicol Wikipedia, just Google, then you will be able to read about them all. Sagkod is like this. If you have a cow and the cow has a string and you tie the string to a branch of a tree, then the cow is allowed to go around the space as long as the rope will allow. So that's sagkot. As a writer or as a reader, you will be able to write or read your sensibility or your consciousness or your agimadmat is only until where you are or until where you allow it to be. Yan lang ang sagkod mo. Yun lang ang hangganan mo. Unang pagsusulat mo. Let's go to the concept of gayon by the Hagkos Bicolana and Albert O. Baita. Hagkos Bicolana is composed of women writers Marisa Redburn, Ermina Torres, Eden Bilarde, Lourdes Lubes Nieva, who is formerly from CBSUA-Sipocot campus, and yours truly. So, Hagkos Bicolana and Albert O. Baita has this concept of gayon, meaning we as writers tend to write what is beautiful for us, what is beautiful in us, what beauty we see around us. So, that is the concept of gayon. Jerome M. Hipolito of CBSUA Calabanga, by the way, Albert O. Baita, along with Lourdes Lubis Nieva, is also in CBSUA main campus. Jerome M. Hipolito in CBSUA Calabanga has this tindog or tinitindugan. He says that as writers, we should write from where we stand. We should write when we are standing, meaning we write where and when we are. Kung nasaan at kung kailan. For tagubhang theory is like patching or pagtatagpi-tagpi or putting together, maybe one on top of the other, of stories and consciousness. But this pertains more particularly in the oral tradition. Because the first book of Mamlu is about Usipon in the Partido area, and they really are stories handed down from generation to generation. Then this one, when I wrote my collection of personal essays, creative nonfiction, I have come up with the Dana's Bicol aesthetics. As writers, we tend to write about what we have experienced, what we have observed. So because these are part of our consciousness, these are part of our contexts. So we can write about our Danas. Okay, with this Bicol aesthetics, I invite also some of you to think about Filipino aesthetics or Indonesian aesthetics in writing. Next, please. Maybe some of you were able to meet personally already some of these people I have listed. So these are my sewing scenes. I have given a talk about writing stories. I am not going to be able to share with you the whole sets of slides, but these are sewing scenes. Paano ka nagtatahi? How are you going to put together the scenes to be able to come up with your contextualized stories? So you may use mirroring or the signs and reflections of the times. I have come up with a number of poems, of stories, of drama, or plays, and tanagas about the pandemic. Because I am writing my here and my now. It's mirroring. When you say anchoring, it is culture based. Who among you know about Tambaluslos? Who among you know about Kulakog or Kurakog? These are part of the Bicolano myths or mythology. These are part of your schema or background knowledge or experiences and your observations. When you write, you can use anchoring technique to be able to sew or put together scenes when you would like to write culture-based stories. Then you may also write imagining or fictionalizing perceived realities. And when you give your writing exercises as enrichment or learning tasks to your learners, you may use these strategies so that they will be writing in context. So evaluating is also literary commentary. For example, what is your most favorite literary piece? Maybe it's a Bicol one, maybe it's a Filipino one, or maybe it is a foreign one. So why do you like it? So what can you say about it? So you are evaluating, or maybe you are writing a review, or you are going to write something in answer to what you have read, or maybe you're going to write or post a status on FB. You evaluate, you may use this part like a literary commentary. Then you suggest or suggesting, offering alternatives. For example, we have a lot of issues. We have a lot of issues being taken or talk about in the news. So about the vaccines, about the continuous rising of COVID-19 positive cases in the Philippines. So you can suggest measures and methods how to deal or how to survive these difficult times that we have. So those are techniques in writing and in teaching creative and literary writing. Mirroring, anchoring, imagining, evaluating, and suggesting. Thank you. Next, please. Are we all okay now? I hope you have a lot of questions and just keep them in mind and then write them on the chat box so we can talk about them later. So while waiting I guess the following slides will be tackling about how to craft dialogues. And there are pictures from Teatro Ragayano staging. You see, I am sharing with you those from my danas, those from my context. So I hope you are learning some things. So after that, there is also a workshop. But don't you worry, this is a take-home workshop, but I am going to really eagerly await your submission. You may submit via my messenger. So why do we write these stories? Or why do we read these stories? Why do we teach stories? Why are stories are very much part of our lives? You have these reasons. According to Paulo Pierre, literary skills are tools for liberation. Literary literary exposures, the writing and the reading of literature can make us free. Writing stories is finding voice, finding freedom from Itmundo Litton. At galing naman kay Ma'am Ayen, may kwenta ang buhay kapag may kwento. So kapag naghahanap ka ng kwenta, magkwento ka. Okay, next please. So marami kayong kwento. Ang challenge lang siguro, you have a lot of stories within you. The real challenge maybe lies in how are you going to express them, or how are you going to choose which among those stories you will really share. And among those stories, which will give inspiration and positive effects to the readers. Next, please. Okay, Bicol fiction books, may I share with you uh, the Takatak and the pan, uh, Gabos na hayop, pantay-pantay. All animals or all things are equal. These are available also in Savage Mind bookstores. Lambang kita gabos. This one, these two books in the bottom are my books. This one, Lambang kita gabos. I have translated a short story of a Czech writer, Karel Čapek. So this one, Buruhian is published in Buhi, Camarines Sur. So if you would like to be able to see copies of the books, please go to the Savage Mind bookstore. You will meet me there in some of the pages. There are a lot of other Bicol fiction books. There are a lot of other Filipino and foreign fiction books. I invite you all to find them, to select what works for you, what you really like, what it speaks to you. And I invite you all to start your own personal library. Please invest in books. You are not going to lose, I assure you. Thank you very much. Next. I guess the following slides will be showing some scenes from the staging of Teatro Ragayano. Divine, may I invite you to please switch the off button of your hand. I will get back to you later. Okay, so how do you write personal narratives for the creative nonfiction or essay? And how are you going to teach them? Thank you very much, Divine. Are there teachers here in the senior high school department, especially creative writing, creative nonfiction, and then 21st century skills, 21st century skills and literatures from the Philippines and the world, because these are very useful. So how are you going to write and teach creative nonfiction? Excuse me, I have to drink some water first. So okay, the key to writing personal narratives or evocative details. These are stemming from your experiences and memory, which you alone as the writer can give. I have my own danas. You have your own danas. So when we write, even if we all write about nothing, as I invite you to do earlier, if we all write about nothing, this nothing will be written or will be accomplished using some things, using a lot of things from our experiences and memory. So that's evocative details. How are you going to write evocative details? Simple. Just make sure that your writing is appealing to the five senses. You know what are the five senses. Okay, so next is showing, not telling. That's sensual writing. Then enriched and enriching scenes. You see, the key to writing creative nonfiction or personal narratives are scenes. They have scenes. You are going to put the description of your setting. You are going to put your characters. You are going to put your dialogues. You are going to put your conflict or problem. That is a scene. And when you write one rich scene after the other, you are going to arrive with enriched and enriching scenes. Then the author's reality becomes universal reality. The significant human experiences and the universal truth. Okay, I have my own danas or experience, you have yours. But then, if we are writing successfully using creative nonfiction or personal narratives, my reality and your reality can become the reality of everybody in all the world. And that's the challenge to the essay writers. Because we're going to have insightful reading and living. So I hope I will be able to inspire you all to read, write, and then read. Thank you po. Next. Maybe I guess the next slides will be some samples of my winning essay in the Premio Tomas Arejola para sa Pagsurat Bicol noon in 2009. I have written about the skates industry in Ragay, mentioning other barangays, not only the barangay where my school is located, but also other barangays. But before that, may I give you a list of creative nonfiction books? So these are available now. These are available with the authors and with the bookstores, specifically the Savage Mind and National Bookstores. I have been using these books in teaching creative writing and creative nonfiction. So the last one, My Sagom sa Daghan, is still being written, being layouted, but it will be published, hopefully. So I hope may I invite you to do screenshots. If you haven't thought about it, please check out the you will really enjoy reading them. I have copies of these books, all of these, but it's difficult for me to share with you. Maybe some of my friends in the participants role maybe can come to me and then let's arrange how you are going to be able to use these books. Okay, next please. Okay, this is Buhay Release. It is printed in Rimpos, printed by Ateneo de Naga University in 2015. The book is also still available with me and with the editor, Jusan Misolas. If you would like a copy, just get in touch with me. Okay. It is also available in the Bicoleana section of the Ragay Municipal Library in my hometown. So those among you who have access to Ragay and the library, you are welcome to check out my books and other Bicolano books, which I donated to the Bicoleana section. So this is the Rimpos, where this Buhay Release is published. So this is contextualization because When I give excerpts of this essay during my talks, those who have experienced riding along the tracks or railroad tracks will be able to relate to the experiences or to the stories or to the scenes. Next, please. Next will be Chetro Ragayano staging and character development. Hello. So may I also know from the participants who among you are interested to learn more about theater? Because if we will be having constraints in time during this session, I have already sent theater in classrooms presentation to Archie. You are welcome to use them. Okay, this is characterization in Pasali. So if you're going to teach drama, you can ask your student class based on the costumes, based on the standing on stage of each character. Can you tell me about them? How about the two women, based on their expressions, based on their stance? Can you guess what they are feeling during this moment? So that's how you teach, using a visual prompt. You flash this picture on the screen, and then you have you are going to have you are going to ask questions to the learners. Maybe from their answers, they will be able to already characterize, and that you will be able to succeed in motivating them to participate in the discussion. Okay, next please. These are, by the way, these were grade 10 students during this staging, but they were able to pass off as farmers or sugarcane farmers. Okay, for script writing, yes, for script writing, these are the steps. So you are also welcome to screenshot. How do you name your characters? The names of the characters and every script has significance to the show. For example, a character named Alona is signifying that she is alone most of the time. And when you are Alona and you are alone most of the times, what kind of person are you? Are you sad? Are you timid? Are you shy? So you are not going to just pick a name that you like. When you are planning to write your script or to teach the scripts or short stories, you are going to bear in mind that names of characters have significance. Then, after you name the character, you have to assign the age, the physical, mental, psychological, etc. attributes and characteristics. I will be sharing with you 9 questions to be able to tackle, yes, using 9 questions as guide. I have also shared the copy to Archie. Okay, then assigning idiosyncrasies for the distinction. So can we go back please to the previous slide? So, okay, assigning idiosyncrasies for distinction. What do you mean by idiosyncrasies? Will you please try to evaluate yourself? What is something, what is your characteristic or mannerism that is unique to you? So that's it. Then creating backstory for each character. Some playwrights or some authors are suggesting that before you write your story or your drama or your novel for that matter, you fill out resume forms or biodata forms. The biodata forms that you can buy in the stores. Fill it out to create backstory for each character. Then identifying attire and look and attitude. If you are going to go on stage, and since we are discussing drama here, it's very important. And then we will look at the 9 questions later. Next, please. So, okay. So from masterclass.com. Masterclass from the masters. So consider the following. Okay, characters backstory, characters motivation. Okay, let's go to the soap opera in the in Philippine television. Why is it that the soap opera are always given luck? They are always lucky to be able to get away with doing evil things. They are always winning, even though they are bad. Why? What is the motivation of being a protagonist? What is the motivation of being an antagonist? And what is the motivation of the antagonist or the contribida to be always hating the protagonist or the bida? Okay, as a writer and as a teacher, guiding the class and understanding a literary piece or in writing a literary craft, you are going to be able to focus on knowing the character's motivation. And then the character's voice. Who is speaking? What kind of a voice does he have? Or does a character have? Then structure of making monologues. We are in the monologue. Beginning, middle, and end. The person is speaking or the something that is speaking in this monologue has has to have a distinct voice, and the monologue or the speech should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. We will be sharing an example later. What is the tip or what are the tips for crafting monologues? I have specifically put in parentheses advocacy driven. When you write, you are not writing for yourself only. When you write, you are writing for your audience, whoever and whatever they need. When you write, you have maybe even if you are not conscious when you write, you have an advocacy. So it is advocacy driven. Keep it concise or short. Placement is key. Use details, but just enough. Read and watch more monologues. Of course, continuously and consistently improving our skills. Read and watch more monologues. Okay, next, please. I believe the next slide will be showing a sample monologue. Maybe you don't have time to read, but maybe I will be able to give you some seconds. Anybody from the audience? Ma'am Divine, can you read? Can you read the whole monologue? Sir Archie, is still okay if I give time for the reading?
Sure, ma'am.
Hello? Do we have time to read this one?
Sure po, ma'am.
Okay, Ma'am Divine. This is
Excerpts from
excerpts, yes.
excerpts from At the In-Betweens. Veru's monologue. You are you. I am me. I cannot help being myself. And the same way that you cannot help being yourself, you are human. I am virus. It is in the course of the universe that at one point our paths shall cross. We meet at in-betweens. We are there at the spaces between hygiene and dirt, in health and in sickness, in helping and begging, and sorrow and joy, in life and death, in living and arriving, in the smiles, cries, and prayers. I am me. You are you. We meet each other's ceaselessly. Where is the end?
Ceaselessly. Okay, thank you very much. Who is speaking, Ma'am Divine? Who is the persona here? Who is Virus? Or anybody?
The virus.
Yes. I use the president's name for it. Okay. This is part of a monologue. It is advocacy driven. It is implied that the virus also has a voice. Okay. So next slide, please. Thank you very much, Mom Divine. Okay, thank you, Joel. Okay, thank you. So, how are you going to craft dialogues? First one, monologues, because we are in drama. Next, we have dialogues, which are plot driven. Okay, these are sharing from usernotes.com. Ma'am Divine. Okay, so just read, just read what is given, but basically they are the same. When you write dialogue, do not say said always. There are techniques in writing dialogues. If there are only two characters talking, you don't need to mention their names. Simply write their dialogues one after the other. And the readers will be able to sense that they are really talking like ordinary or daily conversations wherein you don't mention the names of the characters anymore. Just list down the dialogues, and there will be an understanding that these are the characters talking to each other. Okay, so what do you mean by interrupt once in a while? When you are crafting dialogues, it is also important to make the plot or the next sequence of event move on. So therefore, yes, you make pauses, dialogue here, description next, dialogue, description of the scene, or maybe what the characters are doing. Thank you very much to those who are participating now. Okay, next. Just go back to this one and then, unless you have question, oh, how about make your characters hesitate? Make your characters hesitate because they are supposed to be real like, real like, real life, lifelike, and real. So characters can also hesitate. How? Okay, how about this one? Hello, why are you there? Are you talking to me? That's one example of a character who is hesitating. And it happens in real life. Or, hello, are you there? Why are you not looking at me? Oh, stop twisting your hands. I'm not going to be angry. So the other character is not talking, but the hesitation is being shown in the dialogue of the character who is speaking. Okay po. Next, there are a lot of tips. You are welcome to practice them in your writing and teaching. Let's proceed po. Okay. In line with the characterization and the dialogues, this is a scene showing striped yellow and blue. This is an adaptation of the very famous and well-loved story Hope for the Flowers by Trina Paulus. If you have read that book, that story, will you please raise your hand so I can see? Hope for the Flowers by Trina Paulus. If you haven't read that, find some copies. Available still in bookstores. So look, if we are still in the characterization, look at the costumes. Striped yellow and blue are very visible because of the color of their headdresses or jacket. Thank you. Next, please. Okay, this is actually a song, but I cannot play the recording. So, but look at the pauses in between words. The character who is hesitating because he is dying, because he has fallen. He fell from the caterpillar pillar, which he was trying to climb on his way to success. So I need a boy or a male participant, CBSUA artisan, please, a representative to read this one with feelings. You are dying, you are weak, you just had a fall, so maybe your body is already aching. Who would like to volunteer, please? Sir Editor-in-Chief, whom will you volunteer among your staff members? Hello.
Hello, ma'am. I would
Who
like
will
to
read, Sir Archie?
volunteer Mr.
You
Oscar
will.
Esteban.
Okay, let's go.
How about Mark Allen?
Anybody? But I will prepare a male person so that because it's a male character.
Okay, I am weak and
Okay.
dumb. Those at the tower shook me and beaten, mauled by those crawling, climbing, and choking. I can only say nothing is seen. Crawlers can never get to the top. Only butterflies can do that. Better for me to just flop and accept the earth as my mat.
Thank you very much. I felt it. So that's the beauty of knowing your characters, because you are able to give them their voices and you are able to give them their feelings and their contexts. So I'm excited to see the dialogues that you will be writing during the workshops. Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the next, please. This is another advocacy driven musical. It is about the abuse being experienced by Ragay Golf. Sulog ning pagkamuot. The performers were learners, the musicians and the composers were learners. Let's proceed to the next, the dialogue or the answer to the chorus part. It is in Bicol. I will be translating for our Indonesian participant. Okay, another one. Sir Jude, can you please, Sir Judah, will you please read? Can you manage it, Sir Jude? Or if Sir Jude cannot manage it, may I request Lay? Lay, are you there? Leia Giriba? It is in Bicol. So it is flashed on the screen. May I translate while waiting for a reader? So the first line says that there is something we can do, my friends. The people will be united as one and move as one. And the richness and the beauty of the seas will be returning and will be staying. That is basically the translation of this 4-line answer to the chorus of the musical. So anybody who would like to read? Because the people I am requesting to read cannot manage, I guess. Okay,
Hello,
so
ma'am.
Jobal, please. Bandola. I have a friend, Marietta Bandola.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Okay, thank you very much for volunteering. So it is about the Ragay Golf. So go.
Okay. Simbag sa pangaduang koro. Pakawan, Sapsap, Culago, Salvador, Ligaya. Igwang magiginipo mga katuod ko. Mga tawo magkakasararo, mahiriro, mabalik giraray, madanay ang gayon, anyaman in sa tong kadagatan.
Thank you very much, Doval. Okay, so I am using context and realities we're in or within our consciousness. It is in Ragay, it is in Camarines Sur, but we have seas everywhere. So, but I gave voices to the fish and to the owl or the kulago, and then the mother and son, Salvador and Ligay. Thank you. Next, please. Okay, we are now in the pandemic times. This slide is just showing that the theater adjusts to the demands of the times. Those among you who are my friends on FB can see that Sining Banwa, the most established Bicol theater group, has just staged Higit pa sa Pag-ibig or Labi sa Pagkamuot in Legazpi. It is a physical staging, but we have collaborated with them. Teatro Ragayano has been collaborating with Sining Banwa toward staging online. And these two were staged. They are still available. If you will click the YouTube channel of Sining Banwa, or some of them are still on my wall. If you are my friends on FB, you can just listen or watch. Litanya ng Manggagawa also. Litanya ng Manggagawa is a flash and a straight play. There are two versions, flash play and straight play, about the pandemic, about the workers being affected by the pandemic. Thank you. Next. Chatrong Bicol books. So if you are going to teach creative nonfiction and creative writing, theater is there, second semester. So you should be able to, you should challenge yourselves to have background on theater. So you can read these books, Sayod Kong Tataramon, Rarom Rayo, Batang Rizal, Chetro Ragano Playbills, or check out these playwrights. You may get in touch with them, except for Sir Carlos because he is already in heaven. But you can really learn. Another technique is if you have access to the authors themselves, you find them, you talk to them, ask for their available time to be able to learn from them. Like the saying, right out of the horse's mouths. Teatro Reggiano playbills, which will be on the next slide, are still available in the Savage Mind bookstore. Next, please. Okay. Playbills are the memorabilia or the literature about drama staging. Next, please. We are almost done. I'm excited to hear your questions. Okay, I have listed 7 C's for the creative quests. This is my personal challenge to all of you. Conceptualize, choose, create, because you learn writing by writing. Critique. There's value in editing and rewriting. Communicate. Your voice and your truth need to be heard. Collaborate or magsaring-sing. Then celebrate because you are able to read, to write, and to teach. So these are basically 21st century skills, and we need all of these skills to be able to survive not only in the literary but also in the academic world or the real life, the world of the real life. Thank you. Next, please. These are some processes from mbcteacher.org. Yes, basically. So look at that. You can read aloud. If you are writing, read aloud. Especially poetry, because poetry has music. Journaling is there. Free writing, just write whatever comes to your mind. And then when you are having the first draft, you select what really is going into your story or your literary piece. Then you have the final draft. Next, please. Go back to mbcteacher.org if you would like to. Okay, it's workshop. Let me just show you the workshop phase, and then I'm ready to answer your questions. Or if you would like, do we still have time? Let's go through the theater in
Yes,
classrooms and
ma'am. We still
PowerPoint.
have time po.
Please, okay. Please screenshot the workshop. I'm going to expect outputs. Individual outputs, please. I'm going to read them and give them feedbacks and return them via Archie. Or if you are from Sipocot, if you will allow me, I can meet with you there in your campus in due time, sa tamang panahon. Okay, next please. If you are done, my friends who are in this seminar also, I'm going to be able to personally follow up your outputs. Okay.
Do we, excuse me,
Are
ma'am.
we done?
Yes
Any
po. Do we
questions?
proceed? Do we proceed
Yes.
to the theater po?
Yeah, I'm okay. May we ask the participants if you're still okay? There are 15 slides more. Okay. Thank you. Oh, workshop instructions. Okay. So, Jobal, I have provided provided the steps. Kindly follow the steps. Basically, you have to choose a piece, maybe poetry, maybe an essay, or maybe a drama scene, not only from the references which I listed, but also anything that works for you. If you have if you have a favorite piece, work on that. Okay, so do some research. You go to Bicol Wikipedia, you go to Wikipedia, Google these authors I have listed. So, and then follow this name and contact information of yourself, your participant, name and contact information of yourself if you are going to submit. Then, what is the title of your session? My session now is entitled Salingoy Susug Saringsing. You may use a Filipino, English, or Bicol title. Then, you have to include a copy of the literary piece with the name of the author. Then, you have to acknowledge the source or the link of that literary piece. Jubal, would you like to give me a title? Or if you cannot think of anything now, for example, let's see, biyahe, you will be using biyahe, you're going to give the copy of that. And then acknowledge the type, that's the source. Maybe you have bought the book, and then it's on page 26. You you have a photo of the biyahe Tanaga and the page, and then the cover of the book. That's okay. Then you are going to list down your strategies. What are you going to use? It may or may not be strategies which I have shared with you. If you have your own strategy which you have been using or as excited to use, do it, use it. As long as you put it here, you put it in your output that you are going to submit. Then presentation flow, how are you going to present? For example, step 1, using video clip. Step 2, learners will read from the screen. Step 3, they will brainstorm. Step 4, okay. Then discussion flow. Learners will discuss, learners will ask questions, the teacher will answer Q&A, or the learners will create a sketch, or the learners will make a PowerPoint presentation. Then, how are you going to have the accomplishment of learning tasks, activities, to make sure that the learners learn your lesson? And then, how are you going to assess? I am not going to tackle in detail these parts because it is not in my topic, but because the theme is teaching literary and creative writing techniques and strategies. I have given you the strategies. We can talk later. You can just send me PM. We can talk later about how you are going to really do the output. Because for assessment, we have performance-based. I have mentioned that already in the strategies. You make the learners perform, work with themselves individually or with their classmates as in small groups. Is it clearer now? Hello. Okay, so there is the stage. So if for more details, you can get in touch with me. Thank you. How are you going to use theater in classrooms? I have made this in 2019, but I have updated this one. They are still applicable. Please, next. Okay, you have the lesson parts. If you're going to use it in the presentation of concepts, the teacher will be the actor. Because you are going to present or you are going to record a learner who is going to present, but you are going to give the learner your material. When you discuss, you can do it through acting. Okay, next please. These are the different staging modes. Mime is just action, no dialogue. Tableau is that when you go on stage, you became statues, you don't move. But you have your costumes and you have your facial expressions. And then the class will be able to learn. Of course, you know the monologue and the dialogue. The reading theater, you have your scripts, you have your lessons, have the learners read. Then the verse theater, the dialogues are written in verses. Patula yung kanilang mga dialogue. So, or like poetry sounding verses. Musical, you can create, like for example, you are going to flash on your video screen, or you are going to use a visual aid about a grammar lesson or about a literary tradition or about a literary situation. Say for example, the scene from Aurea of Marisa Redborn wherein Aurea was leaving for Japan. Because Aurea is the story of women, Filipinas, going to Japan, which were called, or who were called Japayuki during the 80s, the 70s and the 80s. So Aurea, the scene was Aurea was going to Japan, saying goodbye to her best friend. So you can compose a dialogue, or you can read the dialogue of Aurea saying goodbye, but you are going to give it a tune. So it becomes a musical theater. Or performance reading. You read the dialogue of Aurea with feelings. So it becomes a performance reading. Experimental theater is something like you select learners, 3 to 5 learners, or you ask learners to volunteer, 3 or 5, and then have them stay in front of the classroom, or have them on call with their video cameras on and their video microphone on. So therefore, they are just staying there, and then you are going to give them instructions, and they are going to execute the instructions based on your lessons, and that is experimental theater. If you have questions, you are welcome to write them. Community staging as enrichment activities. Okay, I have done this before pandemic. Teatro sa Kalsada, I am bringing my learners, and cars were stopping. Some of them were sounding their horns, but some of them are watching. Teatro sa Baybayin, Kalsada in Baybayin, theater on the road because we are near the road, the highway. Theater on the shore because we are also near the sea. Then we have also presented our lessons. Theater in the plaza, Barangay Plaza, and then Municipal Plaza. Then theater in the bus and van terminal in Ragay. And then online teatro. We did online teatro the previous 2 years, 2 school years, specifically during the pandemic. You may do this, but please, safety first. Be careful because we have to really follow and impose the health protocols considering our difficult times during this pandemic. Next, please. Okay. Advantages of using theaters in classroom. You are based approaches to enrich your knowledge about this. You may just research, but these are the advantages because admittedly, I am pushing advocacies when I write and when I teach. It's okay for you to don't have advocacies or consciously, but then the strategy of using theater in your teaching is really very advantageous because I have found out time and again that learners, these young people, enjoy performing. So they will enjoy using theaters in their activities in the classroom. Next, please. Okay. Those of you who have background in theater, maybe you can relate with this. Tetragayano members, we are now in our 6th year. They have confirmed that. Okay, any question about this? Lose themselves in characters, can't be shy. Okay, if you have experience acting, the moment you are playing the character on stage or online, you lose your real self in the sense that you become the character you are playing. So, for example, but the character, for example, of Hanchong or Baldong or Andong's character is self-confident. Andong is like loud. Andong is friendly. Andong is sociable. Somehow, the moments during which Archie was playing Andong, Archie is not shy anymore. Why? Because Archie becomes Andong. So it is true. Any other questions? Anything that you would like me to elaborate on? Because these are just self-explanatory. Okay, let's proceed if there are no more concerns. Okay. So samples. I have used the dialogues on teenage pregnancy and child prostitution as performance assessment in debates. Ooh, I enjoyed listening to my English 10 learners second quarter before the pandemic. So I just gave them a prompt. Class, side A will be pushing for teenage pregnancies advantages. And then side B will be pushing on the disadvantages. The next part, the next group, child prostitutions. What is or what are the causes of child prostitution? Who is to blame when there are child prostitutes? Side A will go on the side of the parents to be blamed, and then side B will be going on the side of the socioeconomic condition in the barangay, in the town, in the province, in the region, and in the country. And then they are able to craft their own dialogues. Next, musical theater as discussion of sensory images. Yes, they brought guitars, they brought spoons and forks and basins in the classroom, and then they serve as the accompaniments because they also sang their scripts. They wrote the scripts and they assigned tones to the scripts. For example, one group used the Paubaya tone, the melody of Paubaya by Moira de la Torre during the session. And then the other group used Bahay Kubo, the tone of Bahay Kubo. Next one is the performance reading as presentation of figures of speech and poetry. I use this in creative writing in first term. So, theater in classrooms really works. I have put here some samples of dialogues. I will be requesting participants to act. Next, please. The participants are now quiet. Any message on the screen? Okay. Mime and Tableau as presentation of concepts and events in Philippine history and verse theater of Sisay Ako. Okay. If I'm going to ask you now, can you give me a one-word answer? Who are you? Sisay ka? You can use mime and tableau as presentation of concepts. The knowledge of self. We did this during the Buwan ng Wika celebration in 2019. Si Salvador sa Kaharian ng Bakawan. This is a reading month celebration, October 2019. So, reading skills, speaking skills, performing skills, listening skills, they are all developed. Already written passages, verses, poems. You may use them, or you may encourage your learners to write some things of their own, and then you will be able to use that during the next school year in the classrooms. I'm waiting for the next slide, please. Okay, I have shared this with you, moves, and then some of the techniques. If you need basic information or tips and using theater in the classrooms, these are the moves. You go in front of the mirror and you do this mirror image. For example, okay, you ask or you request two learners to stand facing each other, and then they are going to do the following moves one after the other. For example, learner A will do the push, and then when she stops, learner B will copy the push, and then the pull, the punch, the ring. The ring is like squeezing water out of laundry. Then the throw, the twist, the glide, the sway, the shake, the crouch, and the crawl. These are some of the basic theater moves. Then you use your eyes, your lips, your face, and your body to show the languages in delivering the messages of the concepts in your lessons. So you will be able to to deliver using your body, you are performing in a way. So my co-teachers, my fellow educators, you are welcome to perform. Have a mindset that you are going to become performers. If you are going to apply the strategies that I have shared this morning. Next, please. Okay, voice dynamics. I'm going to deliver because room is a big space and we don't have my campus theater so much the best per is one volume lower than the normal speaking. For example, I'm going to do this, the, the stage voices. I am Ayan. Stage normal. I am Ayan. Dialogue because the last person seated at the last row in the staging area. Therefore, you're going to, with or without microphone, you really need to speak louder and clearer than the normal. Next, please. So what we're doing now is a crash course on theater. So in showing emotions, these are the basic emotions, and I hope you know the faces. You go to the emoticons. You go to the emoticons. Okay, so how do you do the sad, the angry, the afraid, the surprised, the sarcastic? And then this combination of all this. For more details, we can discuss this when you have questions. Next, please. Okay. Any questions so far? Next, please. Do we still have other slides? I guess. The following slides will be the exchange of dialogues. Okay. So, Archie, can we do this? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Archie, select one line and you are going to, I will be giving the sample. So participants, which among the lines, the dialogues should I do? Because you are going to read these dialogues using three emotions, three levels. For example, if you're going to use the levels of happy, you should have happy and then ecstatic and then the highest form of happiness. So three levels. So Archie, what would you, I go first. Which among these should I do? Please choose for me.
Levels of sad, sana.
Sad, sana. Okay, so sad, sorrowful, then melancholic. Sad, moderately sad, very, very sad. Okay, let's sana. 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 Okay, Archie, your turn. What will you choose? Three levels.
Same line, ma'am.
Okay.
Yung sad din po, ma'am.
Sad.
Sana. Sana. Sana.
Okay. CBSUA-Sipocot, would you like to have your own theater group? Let's do it. Okay, next. Basically, we have shown you some of the techniques. The last slide is dealing with rubrics, suggested rating scale. Okay, spectacle and theater consist of set designs, the props, the costumes, the sounds, and the lights. These are important but can be optional, especially if you are in the classroom setting. Okay, so let's proceed to the next, please. Okay, staging by group. I have used this time and again. You may create your own rating scale or criteria. Then you can give also prizes, special tokens to the winners or the highest pointers. Thank you very much. I'm done with theater in classroom slides.
Half of the College Artisans Bulletin, thank you for joining us today. And from our first to our final plenary session, thank you very much. And have a great rest of your